Folks, welcome to the Random Party Generator. At this point, we've got a one-on-one session. Oh, it's kind of like those old TSR adventures, like the with Clerics Challenge, Fighters Challenge. It's almost like one-on-one, but we may we may have another one in standby. Somebody else intended to show, but they are late. But listen, you pay good. Well, all right, you don't pay much money, if any, to see Rob and I live. But up, here he comes. Oh my God, two people.
Tim
Huh? You see,
and Greg.
and
Hello,
Greg,
hello.
you get your money's worth tonight. The only thing we're lacking is a drunk Joe the lawyer.
Oh,
I
he's
talked him
clearly
to death
drunk because
last
he's
night.
laughing at my jokes.
What was that, Greg?
I talked him to death last night.
Well, and Tim and
So
I
you're
were on his.
responsible for him hitting the cider tonight?
Oh,
Uh,
Tim and I were on his Tuesday night live. We dropped in, and I that's when
Part
I
of
brought out
Eric
the
was there.
I brought out photo for access. So yeah,
oh, right.
yes,
Yep.
yes,
The-
I think I'm gonna have to go back to doing some video reviews with Filter Thraxis. Short ones, maybe actual shorts where he throws more books off of porches and stuff, like he did Vornheim.
yeah. The Terror of Vornheim. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that somebody got butthurt over that one. Somebody like, you can't do that. Just watch me. Just watch. Well, see now you actually have a full panel. You got Rob Conley, Back in
Right.
the Attic. You have Tim Shorts, Mr. Gothridge Manor, and you've got the chubby funster who is like Mr. Shadow Dark. I mean, what's your
I had
next?
somebody. I didn't know this until like right when we launched that podcast yesterday. That Joe had titled it like "The Lord of Shadow Dark Chubby Funster" or some shit like that. And so I just putting together the promo thing to post on Facebook, and I didn't even pay attention to what he had titled the thing. Right, I just grabbed the YouTube link and I wrote up a short thing and I posted it, and somebody wrote a comment like, "Yo, what Lord of Shadow Dark?" And I'm like, I did not come up with that. That was not
No,
me.
hold on, bud. You say you're Lord of Shadow Dark. Let's go to the scoreboard, shall we?
The scoreboard.
Yes,
Oh,
the
he's gonna pull up.
scoreboard. See if we
Uh-oh.
find Shadow Dark RPG.
Kelsey came in at
Oh,
what 2.4
I think he's
million
looking at the
dollars.
Yeah.
rankings on our drive-through.
I don't
let's see.
understand how it's for Moria keeps consistently being ranked higher than a lot of my stuff, but it's still only Electrum. So I don't know if it sells like in like a batch and all the sales are like in the same week, so then it gets calculated as being really hot
Yeah.
selling.
If his sales are anywhere close to you, it's because of his higher price.
Well, yeah, I mean it's. I mean, no shade. I've heard good and bad things. I've never read For Moria. I have no idea whether it's good or not.
Okay, so you
I
have the
wonder
number
sometimes when
2,
I see
number 3,
something that's
and
ranked
number
high
7 slot.
Oh,
and
okay.
number 13 and number 14.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Very nice.
The
Very nice.
Lost Dungeon of Tannisburg? They put that under Shadow Dark? Okay.
Somebody did.
Well, okay. I guess
Mhm.
maybe did they have a different version out for it? Maybe I don't know.
I have it. I think they check a lot of filter boxes.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I mean, it's worth getting for that kind of thing. It's one of the better ones, but so I do recommend it, folks. But it's not a Shadow Dark supplement.
So let's see. Mike wants to know who quit Watsy today. Well, we know who quit Watsy today. Yeah, well, Jeremy Crawford announced that he was quitting WotC.
On the Watsy Wire, we have who up on the chopping block?
Well, we have two Chris's, Chris Perkins and Chris Cow.
Who's Chris Cow? I never heard of him.
He was D&D Beyond.
Oh, okay, that's why I never heard of him.
Yeah, sounds like addition by subtraction to me.
Well,
Yeah.
I am not sorry to see Jeremy Crawford go.
No. If I never
Mr.
go,
Rule
if I
asshole himself.
never see that faux hawk again, it'll be a good life.
What, you don't think he was awesome telling you that you shouldn't buy the anniversary book because it has stuff that I find offensive?
Okay,
I disliked Jeremy Crawford way before that, though. I mean, he kind of was on my nerves way before that too. So that was just
the reason I'm sorry, Tim, I interrupted.
Go ahead.
No, the reason I dislike Jeremy Crawford is because I read his sage advice, and it just this dude is like he's like the guy I ran in trouble with the one campaign. There was a throne room. It had 2 pillars, and the closest pillar to the door where the bandit was keeping watch was 20 feet away. And he said, "Rob, I'm going to make my stealth check to sneak across. There was no cover. Look, I rolled a 15. That means he can't see me." No, that's not how it works. He sees you. You got no cover to hide in. And he threw such a hissy fit. That's not what the rules say. And and it's because of players like him think they can do that in 5e because of Jeremy Crawford.
Well, James Wyatt's been there for a while. He's one of the people mentioned as a possible successor. Wes Snyder, don't know the name, and Justice Armand was pointed out to me that they were part of Rainbow Citadel. So I don't know, man. That's kind of digging deep.
Well, if they're part of that module, then we know they're not going to be rules assholes.
They don't know the rules. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I guess. All right, we'll say that.
I'll take that over. I'll take that over being rules uber alles.
Thank you, Terry, for supporting Greg.
I don't have anything really more to say about Jeremy Crawford compared to when I was talking last night with Joe about Chris Perkins leaving. It's the same thing. To me, I don't really think it's like he has any special weight. To me, he's more a symbol of the mathematization of the game, the way that Jason Ballman is, the guy behind Pathfinder.
Oh yeah.
And I was at Dragon Con one time. I don't often go, but I was at Dragon Con one time, and there was a panel of RPG creators, whatever, talking about their thing, and Jason Bowman was the last one to speak, and the other 4 people were humans with souls. Let's put it that way. So they went down the line, and somebody was asking a question like, how do you get your creative ideas? What's the inspiration for you? And the first 4 people, I forget who they are, but you probably would recognize the names. But I went down the line, and they were like, well, I read this, and I really like this setting, and I play this video game, and I do this thing. They all had what seemed like legit answers for human beings. And then they got to Jason Bowman, and he said that he just scrolls down through his Excel spreadsheet of all the feats and everything, looking for new patterns, then new distributions that he could create with the different feat combinations. And I was just like, oh my God, what a horrific way of making a role-playing game. And I think it's the same way with with guys like him or Jeremy Crawford that have created this monstrosity of interlocking decisions to where you can't make. You're constantly second guessing whether you took the right thing because you're going to need it at a later level and all this shit. Right. And I just hate it. Yeah, I just hate it.
I mean, I like, Tim remembers when I played GURPS or ran GURPS. I didn't mind the detail, but it was always in service of how my world worked. And I like GURPS because if I thought of something interesting about the majestic waterland, I could find something in GURPS to perfectly represent it. And that's to me, that's the point of having the system. But if you're thinking system first to try to make some Uber war game out of it,
Yeah.
then you're totally missing
Right.
the point of RPGs.
Well, they're trying to win D&D, Rob. Come on.
I know.
What? I can't win.
But it's like you told that kid, okay, you win. Can we play the next campaign, please?
Rob, did you get the book How to Win at D&D? The little sliver, you got it there?
Actually, I may got it here.
I couldn't believe when he held it up how thin it was. It was
Yeah, for the price they wanted. I mean, they didn't ask
Yeah.
an exorbitant price, but damn, I mean, even for $12.
it was like a pamphlet.
Oh, really?
Oh, I think I spotted. It was very thin, but
Yes. Rob had to make a
oh yeah, yep,
perception check.
yep. Here it is. Impressive cover. How to win at D&D. And that's all the content you get, folks.
That's it.
Binding's not even wide enough to put the title on it.
Oh yeah, true. Not the binding is not there.
Well, that's
Yep.
because you can't win at D&D. So, all right.
Oh yeah. So in this impressive volume, you have 1, 2, 4 extra pages.
That's for your notes, so you can take notes.
And add another ad. So you finally get to page 34, folks.
34 pages for $12.
Yeah, something like that. No, $10. $10 plus shipping.
Oh, all right. Oh. Toboggan at half the price.
That's just...
Oh, and you get this outstanding illustration.
All right. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Is that my ex-wife?
It looks like a pug in E.T. had a baby.
It's really close.
Pugman, that's why troll pudgeon drown puppies. Okay.
Alrighty then.
Well, I have a lot of interest in Broasar ideas, but I did find the size of that book to be quite humorous.
Oh, is that a OSR thing or
It's
something?
Broasar.
Oh, okay.
Brostar.
Probably why I didn't hear it.
I think they're doing cool things. Like it's interesting to listen to what their play reports are and stuff. I just as a publisher, that's something. It's like when I find a typo in somebody else's work and I do a little dance, and I go, "It's not mine."
Right.
So John Miller asked a question: for those of you who run such game, how do you manage the large stat box? Actually, the stat blocks, especially in the early. I mean, if you were to go into Dungeon Fantasy, yeah, you look at the stat block and say, "What the hell?" There's like 30 items to keep track of. But back in the day of third edition, what Tim? We may have like 8 things, like a handful of skills, maybe 3 or 4 advantages, and some attributes, and that was it.
Are you talking about GURPS or?
Yeah, GURPS.
Oh yeah. The stats weren't that bad, but I don't really play games where the stat blocks are big. I play Shadow Dark right now, so those stat blocks are they're comparable to OSE stat blocks. There's not much difference between the two. So,
Yeah, and the only reason I put stat blocks in my Majestic Fantasy RPG is when a monster has, even like 2 special ability. When you put it in paragraph form and you want to figure it out what's going on at the table, I found that hard. And when I made my stat block, I just, made 2 entries for them, and it was a lot easier to refer to. And then there's some monsters like the Lich where they have a little bit, and it gets even easier when you have it in a stat block rather than trying to. Well, however good it is, it's harder to parse prose in the middle of combat.
Yeah.
So, St. Cuthbert, yes, the old school D&D Renaissance Facebook group. I don't even want to use the word that you're using. It is hopefully going to be the non-political. But remember, the old OSR group is now 5e. You can talk any game you want to talk about because all games are old school. I left that group before the rebranding. It just looked like the wheels were coming off, and I didn't feel comfortable being a mod there. But then the wheels came off later on that day, and it's yeah.
Yeah, there's
That being
plenty.
said, Joe the Lawyer's Analog Man Cave on Facebook is another very active uh, group for OSR lings.
Yeah, it took him a full 2 days to start using his band hammer.
Really? What's he banning people
Oh,
for?
Oh God.
he posted he made a post about the tariffs and then started complaining that people were being political and began using the ban hammer on them, and that was why I was trolling him in a group chat. I was like, Joe the Tyrant has arrived as soon as he gained power. Yeah,
that's funny.
He's like that little kid who shoots himself in the dick with a dart gun and screams because it hurt. Like, yeah, Joe, of course, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, the only way any of us are going to be able to talk about tariff in whether it's a forum or Facebook, it's just limit yourself to practical ways of dealing with the situation. I mean, otherwise you're going to get into politics, and it's just people are going to start
think of
going
it like a natural disaster that has just happened, and you're just like, okay, the price of this thing just went up a whole bunch. Let's just deal with that reality.
And I think it's obvious, outside of the group, you can go talk to your rep, write your senator, whatever, do it. But in the group, talk about, hey, I heard about this guy in Connecticut who does plastic figurine. This is his address. Do stuff like that to give
And that's productive. That's useful. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple publishers. I see that Don's on. I know Don. Somebody else that I know they've pivoted because they have new sources that are Canada or otherwise, as opposed to getting their stuff from overseas. We'll just say, and that's if you can share that to other publishers and let them know where they should be looking, that's useful. Getting into the weeds isn't really useful at this point. Greg is part of the problem. Greg, you're still a moderator in the old OSR.
I know. I was just replying to Bad Mike. I was basically at a huge work function the whole time that all this went down. I was traveling. I was traveling all of last week. I got back home immediately.
Wait a minute. Everybody marked his occasion. Greg was working.
Hey, shut up. So I went all last week. Then I got back from vacation. I went right into an on-site work thing where I had no access to all kinds of stuff all day. Like I have no idea what even really happened, and I have to go back and look and see what I even want to do. I certainly don't want to be involved in a group that has a whole bunch of 5th edition D&D posts in it, if that's the stuff that happens. So
far it doesn't look much in the way of 5e, but there's a lot of new RPGs that are definitely not OSR related.
So
I see.
Let's see what happens. As far as being a moderator goes, I occasionally approve people for group entry, and I sometimes check the moderation alert queue when it gives me a reminder, and I go, oh yeah, that is against the rules. And I deleted a Joe the Lawyer post that way a few weeks ago. Yeah, I went. It was blatantly against the rules. He was trying to stir shit to drum up attention for his YouTube
Joe's
channel.
going back to his old ways.
He's
leaning into that
he's
more.
He's coming out.
Wait a minute. So you mean this whole social media focus that he has now is like his dark side? It's Kyber Crystal or whatever this.
Well, he used to. I don't know. if you remember, like he used to embrace the moniker of being a shit stirrer. For a
Oh, he
long
was an
time. Yeah.
asshole
Oh yeah,
back in
he
the
got
day.
banned from Emerald. He got banned
Yeah.
from Emerald like a decade ago or more.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he just
Okay, so
just did the
bets on
start
what
shit.
bets on what's the next 2000 copper piece incident will be.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Who knows? Yeah.
that's really broad. I mean, so many things could go wrong.
You don't have any?
I don't
Maybe give
know.
me a bowl.
Joe is coming out. Good for him. You see, it's comments like that, Cletus, that we really. That's why we keep you around.
Rat or poison. Probably more like Bananarama.
I could see Joe in Bananarama.
Yeah,
He's got the hair for it.
he does. Yeah, yep. He was on running around behind stage.
I did. I know. I mean, I don't. I don't think it would be reasonable for me to assume that you guys watched the entire 4 hour and 20-minute interview
good
that I
God,
did with
no.
Joe Lawyer last night. But in there, I did reveal one of the locations of the Matt Jackson ladder references in
Oh,
Terra
One of the
Invictus.
secret
It
Easter
was,
eggs.
it was in one of the random encounter tables where you could be walking along and run into a ladder leaning up against a tree with the name Matt carved into the side of it. And you could take it with
That's
you and
great.
do whatever you want. There's another one out there, folks. You can find it.
oh, there's two.
There's two. There's two ladder references in that book.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
Yes,
I did a
bad Mike joke.
huge
Bad.
interview with Joe the Lawyer.
It was like a Jerry Lewis telethon.
Yeah, he said he's trying to develop these like Joe Rogan long form style interviews, where he lets people talk about it for a long time and go through a whole bunch of different topics. He asked me about my childhood. He asked me about how I got into D&D and all kinds of stuff. So
Little therapy session too, huh?
yeah, my first role playing game session was Riffs. That came up.
Oh my God! God bless
Did
you.
you live in Pittsburgh at the time?
No,
Sorry. It's a local. For some reason, Palladium and Rift are really popular in Pittsburgh back in the 80s and 90s.
it's probably because of all the industrial failure.
A little on the nose, but okay.
Eric, are you sick too?
It's allergies.
But my wife went to Florida to visit with her mom and there was like a work function, whatever, and her mom had a cough. And then when she came back to Atlanta, she brought it right back to me. Me and my son got hit with it, and man, it lingered. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm sure Bad Mike and me can fill out 8 hours.
That would just
Wow.
be the intro.
Actually, that's right. Joe does little intermissions, right? He runs
Now-
off to the bathroom.
Now, Mike, he did want to only interview people who have created things. So, have you written books and stuff? I didn't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if Mike wrote books.
Yeah, actually, he has.
Okay, I've never heard him pimp anything. So
Well,
except for North Texas.
Well, because they're written and published and distributed at North Texas.
Oh, those. Oh, okay, I didn't know there was some modules that were only distributed at North Texas.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, that's another way of avoiding tariffs, folks. But yeah, you could go that way. Maybe
Well,
I'll
until they
see
run
them
out
for
of
the
paper
first time.
stock,
Yeah,
Greg.
I've heard that trees can grow on trees.
Yeah,
you
but
can-
where are the paper mills? So
There is one near my aunt's house in Pensacola, Florida. It smells like shit, man. Woo! Paper milling is nasty business.
It is. We used to have one north of here, and part of their budget is they would, I can't remember what mile radius around the plant, they would have to mail out all these vouchers for car washes so they could get their cars clean from all the shit falling from the sky onto everything. So, yeah, it was pretty bad up there.
Where was that, Tim?
Erie
Erie? Oh, yeah. Hammermill.
had the hammer mill plant up there for forever.
Yeah. Yeah, they ran pipes right into the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Well,
Yeah.
there was a reason why, you had a lot of red flags flying around Lake Erie. No, don't go in. Don't go in.
Shit.
You might come out glowing.
Don has a good point. Not all paper mills make paper.
That's right.
Right. The United States has steel mills and stuff, but most of them are oriented to specialty items, not the general steel that like a sheet metal shop would need to make HVAC ductwork. You go to a metal supply house and you order, and the metal supply house, the galvanized, the standard steels will be shipped over from China or other areas of the world, not always China. Because shipping costs are a thing. So
Right.
So, what happened this week while I was at work, Eric? Did anything exciting happen in the world of RPGs?
Well, Eric got
Anything-
drunk and violated a puppet.
Whoa!
Whoa. First off, I had a glass of wine in me when I decided to go. And then some. Who's the one that mentioned the damn puppet, by the way?
That was Joe.
of
Okay.
course,
Wasn't me.
no.
That was
All right.
Joe.
For anybody who doesn't know, Eric did this review of Fornheim.
Yes, he
Zach
did.
Smith.
No, Felt.
Feltothraxis did the review.
Feltothraxis
Excuse
did the
me. Feltothraxis did the review of Fornheim, and it was involved some comedic commentary and projectile trajectories of the book.
I think you're being upstaged, Greg.
I'll let you guys find the.
If it's actually if you go to this channel's posts, looks like a blog. I actually linked the video, but yeah, it went bonk. It made Feltothraxis' eyes close. Can't close my eyes though. My eyes are always open. But if I could, my eyes would close.
Oh, you found the little sticks for his hands now.
I had to. Eric had to. Eric had to order 25 sticks because you can't only order one.
I dare you, Eric, to make a video where you can't see you. We
Just
only
puppet?
see that.
That was what
Well,
he did. Before.
That's what he
He
used to do all the time, Rob.
12
Not all the
years.
time.
I
There
was
weren't
in
that many.
hibernation for over a decade. I was with my horde or whore. I'm not sure which, but in any case, I was away for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
Serious? You're buried on your channel or those videos?
Yeah,
Yes,
that was
Rob.
back in the early days. Yes.
This
Yeah.
is like Rob discovering the 2000 Coppers legend or something. I mean, Jesus Christ. Come on,
I
man.
used to do his reviews with it.
Yeah, get with the program, dude.
Apparently, I named it
In
like
my
15
defense, I'm
years ago.
partially deaf, so it's a little hard to keep up with all you. Ever since we got switched away from the fucking blogs, it's been hard to keep up with the YouTube
Well,
stuff.
Well,
Bad
Bad Mike
Mike-
gives me a good idea, though. What if you put a blue hair wig on top of Feltothraxis?
Ooh, now
And
that
then-
would be sexy.
then
In a little
could
dress.
offer his non-problematic thoughts on things.
I could be. You know what? I could go to North Texas. I fly for free, by the way, in luggage, and I could go to North Texas, and I could walk around, and I would just pester Bad Mike, and just as Bad Mike is trying to make sales at his little, I go, you don't want that. No. You want this one over here at this other table, not being sold by Bad Mike, because you know what Bad Mike does? He touches everything. And then he touches himself. Aha!
First goddamn video.
Wow, this went to a
Dragon
strange
puppets
place.
first.
That's what I was going to say.
Here,
Man. I feel dirty.
You reviewed Tomb of Horrors with the puppet.
What's that, Rob?
Nice. Yeah, if you go to his videos and search by Otis, you'll see it. It's literally his first video, 13 years ago.
Yeah, that's how I got to know Eric was through his videos like that all those years ago.
Dragon videos, and Tim and Ivy named me Feltothraxis.
Oh, okay,
I
all
never
right.
felt so
Let's walk it
fine.
back a little bit. Let's
You're making
simmer
Greg
down.
comfortable, Eric.
Yeah.
Continue.
Woohoo. Oh, this didn't go south. It went into inner space. Wait. I'm not coming back alive. That's a challenge, Mike. That's a challenge.
I would like
Mike.
to see. I would like to see that death match.
I don't know. My money's on Rachel either way.
Pretty much. Irish American. Oh God, woman. Whew. She can just break a glass around her, and you'll hear the C word pumping out. And you're like,
right. Too funny.
Oh God. But yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. I made Joe money. I got people to dig into their pockets and
You
donate.
made what, $87 in super chats or something like that.
Yes.
Mhm.
And actually, I think, yep.
Yeah.
Why were they doing that?
Because of the damn puppet. They were laughing their asses off. They're like, we're doing it for. I was like, I should have gotten a cut. You know,
Yeah, well, he was 80, and then he got like 4 or 5 new members to his channel too on top of it. So he did well.
You know, not too shabby.
So John Miller is complaining that Watsy is hemorrhaging employees. D&D is dying. We're talking about puppets and orifice. Come on, man. Well, hey, dude. I mean, yeah. Which D&D is dying? For far as where I'm looking. Kelsey just closed a $2 million Kickstarter for Shadow Dark. That doesn't look like dying to me. So,
no, she's doing pretty well.
A version of D&D is dying. It is not. It's the blame doesn't rest with the hobby. The blame represents the people who are running it. The rest of the hobby who knows what they're doing is doing quite well by the looks of it.
So listen, if you are a member of the channel, go to there's a poll up. You can say, do you want more Feltothraxis? Do you want him to do short reviews, or is it just too silly even for the tavern? Your vote matters. You know, if you're a member, your vote matters. But yes, it was definitely not the puppet. Okay.
It was definitely not the.
See, this is why I don't turn on my camera, because that's why I don't have to have people see me rubbing my eyes, staring off into space, and wondering what's really happening.
And you wouldn't be playing with the puppet? Is that what you trying to tell me?
Yeah. And, wow.
You were on with Joe for 4+ hours last night, Greg, showing your face. So
I know. But he wasn't using a puppet.
No,
how did Joe convince you to use your face?
He didn't convince me. I've done an interview with Eric where I had my bull. I've done a few when I think it's a thing that's going to be a valuable kind of marketing thing that I want to use for other stuff.
So we're not valuable to your career?
No, you guys are.
I wouldn't think.
You're a cheap fuck. You're just.
Well, you're
a sordid adventure in a strange town. That's all you guys are. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Certainly let us know where we are in the scale of things.
Tis honesty. That's all it is.
That's right.
Tis honesty.
Oh man.
All right, so I put the Feltothraxis Vornheim video up in the chat. By the way, I do think that's the best Feltothraxis video.
The Vornheim one?
Yeah, the Vornheim one is. It is comedy gold.
Yep, I remember this one. Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a full 2 minutes. I thought it was like 30 seconds.
And actually, it's really more like only a minute.
Yeah,
Right.
I just remembered it was like the one line, and then poof, it knocked me over.
Right. How does it have no comments, Eric, or did you have to shut them off?
No, I had no comments.
Oh, it's going to have comments now.
It's gonna have comments now.
I was
It's
gonna
gonna.
That is funny.
Yeah, it was just. Actually, I did take this the Feltothraxis to one North Texas, but I lost his pole, and I don't think I really did much with him that time. So I might didn't get to enjoy Feltothraxis.
A lot of people go to North Texas and lose their pole, buddy.
I need my stick. I don't have my pole stick. Which one? The one that you stick? No, up his arm. Not that one. Jesus, Mother and God. But listen, I give Joe a lot of credit, man. A 4-hour live stream. How many bathroom breaks did he take? Like
I was going to say
I believe it was 2.
That's
I
it.
Wait. He
I
takes
went-
2 during a regular live stream.
I went
Right.
2 for the full length. I went through the full length without any. I was
Okay.
solid.
How many
That
times
was
did
like
he
leaky sieve.
how many times he takes a bathroom break when he's running the freaking game?
Oh God, yeah,
Yeah.
at least 3 to 6 minimum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right back.
Yeah, be right back.
back, guys. Be right
Yeah.
back. No.
Talk amongst yourselves. I got to go take a piss.
Smoke him if you got him. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Well, he would ask me a question, and then he would go run off while I was answering the question. That was his way.
He didn't give a shit about the answer, huh?
You better have a good answer. You better keep it go.
Yeah. Well, I have a tendency to talk and ramble, so it was good.
You can
That's
fill
okay.
some dead air,
That's fine. I mean, there's.
We talked about the formation of our group, Eric, with the D&D Next.
Oh my God.
I couldn't remember who it was. Maybe you'll remember, but I made that big post, open letter to WotC on Google Plus, and it got thousands and thousands of shares. And that was when they sent us the invite.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it was Mike Merles or somebody else, but it was somebody like high end who had reached out because it had been, I had my complaint had gotten so much air.
I think it was Mike Merles, but I don't.
Did you guys have to
I
sign the
can't remember.
NDAs?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I had to convince Tim and the rest of the group to sign the NDAs I was sent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to come after us at this point. I think we can pretty much say
I think
unless it was Mike Merle's committed criminal activity or something, that they might come after us for that, but I think we're good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was in your group, and then I was in a pickup group in Manhattan. That was Tavis Allison was one of the guys that was initially part of it.
Tavis, yeah.
And I think it was Games That Cannot Be Named or something like that. And you weren't even like they couldn't even tell you were playtesting D&D until you got there, and then the NDAs were in front of you. And I just the highlight of the whole thing. We had a couple of sessions of that and other games, and the highlight was the one week when we had a very attractive young lady show up, and the DM was just fawning over her, and I was just like, I'm
That was an illusion.
yeah. Well, she did not belong there. I'll tell you that much. I was just like, you are among a bunch of guys in their 40s, and you look like you're 25 and competent. What are you doing here? Sorry. If you're our age and you aren't and married, you're probably broken, and you don't want us anyway at that point. That's all I could think.
I think maybe you're discounting the enjoying the attention.
Maybe
effect,
no. I was just,
I know that because that's something you don't.
I don't experience it.
So
No,
you can't understand what it's like.
yeah, no, never. Haven't had that since I worked at Stearns as a young man. I got goosed on a
Yeah.
ladder one time by a Filipino girl. Almost fell off. I almost did a Matt Jackson. I almost died falling off a ladder because I got
Yeah.
goosed. And I was like, "What the?" And she's like, "I couldn't help myself." I'm like, "This is." I was not that good looking. I asked you not to get in goosed. It's like goosing. I don't know, Mike's ass. I mean,
Well, I did say last night. I said if I ever fell off a ladder, I would have to lie about it now. I would have to come up with some story because if it came out that I
I
fell
was
on
attacked
a
by
ladder,
a wild ladder.
it would never end. Yeah, I would have to come up with some kind of insane story that made all the pieces of data that I couldn't hide make sense. You know, I was on a ladder and I was attacked by a bird, and there was a swarthy person in black that ran off, and I didn't see him, and I'd be like, it was not the ladder. I did not fall off the ladder.
The shame would be too deep.
So I don't have a story as good as you, but Eric, about D&D next. But the adventure I ran for you guys when we did the live stream for Shadow Dark, that venture I created for the D&D next playtest. The one with the troll under the bridge, the centipede outside, the orc cave with you discovered the orc chief in a rather intimate moment.
Whoa, Rob's writing a really spicy
what
stuff.
kind of adventures you write now, Rob? Yeah. Is there a parental advisory in the film?
Well, I watched the end of the video. You were everybody was commenting on that fact. Rob, are you writing these kinds of adventures now?
You could be.
Oh.
Rob After Dark.
Ooh, I found my D&D next folder. Cycle 1, Cycle 1.5. Different notes.
You can do every night, DM, Mr. DM. I'll just call you Mr. DM. You can do whatever you want on your side of the table.
That's right.
The tavern itself is generally a no smoking environment, but that's only because my personal environment. I don't care what you do on your virtual table.
Right.
You really don't. Zatran, we're talking about everything and nothing.
Pretty much more nothing than everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking shit so far. Yes.
Yeah. I'll give you guys my what is it? D&D next story, and Rob knows this one. So we're at Origins. All right. And Rob and this other guy we used to game with, Dan, they wanted to try out the D&D next play test that they were having there. And I was like, no, I don't know. No, because it was like the last thing in the convention. So it was like, I think, what was it? It started like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it was Saturday night.
Yeah, and because we went there for the day pass, so we were going to drive home. So that it means it would have ended around 1 o'clock, and then we wouldn't have got home until like 4 a.m. And I know what exactly was going to happen. I'm like, you two fuckers are going to fall asleep, and then I'm going to have to drive home. And Dan was the guy driving. I was like, and I had already had a full day's, or I had to work that Saturday or that Friday night, and I was just exhausted already. And they signed up behind my back.
Those are real friends.
Yeah. And then so I'm like, so we go there, and then sure enough, yeah, they both, Rob's like sawing logs in the back, Dan's falling asleep at the wheel, and I punched Dan, and I was just like, just pull over, just fucking pull over. And drive the rest of the way home. And I was just like, oh my God. So my first initial with the D&D next, I don't know if that was the initial one, but I was just like, oh, yeah.
Well, if there's any consolation, at the next con in the Cobb, Dan wanted to stay all Sunday morning, and I was thinking back to that when I was talking with him. Said, "Fuck no, fuck no. And I told him we're going home now, and he was bummed out, but he relented.
I know. He's a gamer, man,
Why did you crush his dreams, Rob?
because he was sleepy.
You're so mean.
Rob gets cranky when he's sleepy.
Yes. I can
What's
get
it say,
cranky.
Tim? Are you having the chubby funster on this Monday show, or is he going to be a diva and snub you again? Who knows?
Oh
I mean,
wow! I was not being a diva.
it was, it's Greg, so
I,
he slides into his diva persona once in a while. So.
I had some serious stuff to deal with. I tried to log in and make a few comments, and I couldn't even focus on the stuff I was having to do. So I had
I
to
thought
leave.
you were running. The
I
group
was
was
like,
running campaigns on Monday.
Well, it ended, and then we started doing some solo games, and then we had a little bit of a break. And Erudite DM, who's in there in the chat, suggested that we interview Greg as one of our things. Well, half of us voted against it. We're like, oh God, no. And then the other half were like, okay. So it's because Mike was
The
the
eyes
newest
have
guy.
it.
wow.
Yeah, we saw the newbie gets a bit better, so we'll interview Greg. So yeah, as far as I
Feeling
know, I
that
think we're still
love.
good. I don't know, Greg. Are you good? You think, or you got some more fake work to do?
I think a
Okay.
fake work. Oh, yeah. I got. I think I got everything under control.
Good,
So
good. That did sound like a nightmare, though, Greg.
it was sucky. Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta do
He's
what you gotta do sometimes for work.
sometimes you got to earn the paychecks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And then what here today is he? You DMing Pendragon for us?
No, I can't commit to that. Joe was saying
Oh,
one of Joe's questions was like, "What's the game that you've always wanted to play but you've never played?" And I want to emphasize he said play, right?
right.
So I said Pendragon is like this really great work that I've just never been able to be a part of anything with it. And it's true. It's fascinating to me, but I'm working on so many things that I don't know that I could, really. If I play it, I'm gonna want to be like committed and show every
Right.
week and all that stuff,
Well,
and I just don't know if I have that.
to be fair, Tim runs very awesome one shots. So if you can convince Tim to run a game of Pendragon, I'm sure he'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah, that's one of my systems I've always wanted to play too, Greg. That I've never because I have a lot of it. I bought the starter set that they just put out recently.
I
And
have the Uther campaign and the core rule book.
yeah,
I
I
think
have a
it's
lot of
fifth
their books from
edition.
the what was it, the 80s or 90s when it first came out with
Oh, yeah.
Chaos. Yeah, I love those books. They're so good. So good.
Yep,
Yeah.
I have about 4 inches of my shelf devoted to Pendragon books,
Rob,
including one of
as
my
a
favorite
general rule,
campaign.
I just want to warn you: you should never say 4 inches in any context around these guys.
Of course, you would go there, Greg.
You're the one who was telling stories about your pervy game, okay?
But that wasn't about 4 inches. That might never mind.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know, Rob.
Yeah, always exaggerate
Thanks for spoiling my effort to promote the Great Pendragon campaign.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm a big. I said that's one of the things I want to do. I'm promoting it. I'm a fan.
Well, it's one of the one of the best long form campaign supplements out there.
Yeah, I think so. I just never played it. I don't know how it plays, so that's why I've always been kind of curious about it.
No, which system you usually run when you run your Arthur stuff? GURPS, right?
Well, the only time I ran the Arthur stuff was during when we were doing what was third edition GURPS back in back in the 90s or whenever that was.
Yeah, you ran the one campaign and then you ran the one shot.
Right. Yep.
Still have the
Is it-
character.
Oh yeah, it was a hawk. Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
Clodius
what
Hawk.
does the group suspect is happening at Wizards of the Coast? You are just fascinated with Wizards of the Coast, Mike. Good grief.
Mike, write your own goddamn RPG and quit
I
obsessing
think
about
Jenny
them.
D is going to be their next marketing director.
Jenny D is.
Yeah, she's going to be replaced. She's
I
going
didn't
to
know if you said Jenny D or Jimmy Dean. I don't
no,
know.
no, maybe both. She's looking for the old Satine Phoenix spot. You know,
Oh God.
The Jim Kitchen is obsessed with her.
well, Mike's the one that's obsessed.
Yeah.
Satine. Listen, I heard so many stories from people who were there at Satine's faux wedding ceremony at GaryCon. The number of people that were pissed off that the bar was closed to normies so she could have her wedding. Yeah, not fun. Skanks and sorcery. Thank you,
Skanks
Bob.
and sorcery. Yeah.
You're killing me.
Yeah, I
I'm totally
feel the
starting a
same.
PBT
I feel the same way about Jenny D and Satine Phoenix. That the reason why people think you're great should not be because they find you visually attractive. You know, it should be that you've done something of import in some way. You can do that as a visually attractive person. Okay, like that's not a limitation. You can write great things, create things. You can create events. You could do all kinds of stuff as an attractive person. It's not a limitation, but you should do something that's important before we start to care like you're important. And it rustles my jimmies.
Your Jimmy Dean.
I
God
see you
damn.
leaning
But,
your Georgia accent and being all folksy there. Chris.
Yeah. Going back to Mike's question, I would not be surprised that within, I'm going to say long term, 2 years, within the next 2 years or so, there isn't talk of WotC licensing the
Yeah.
D&D RPG IP.
Yep.
Not D&D itself. There's too much value in D&D condoms and whatever else they're selling out of like three corners. But the actual D&D RPG, it's, look like, Games Workshop stopped at that. How many years ago? Wasn't Green Ronin the first licensee? Didn't they publish Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Second Edition?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Cubicle 7.
Cubicle. What, you would think they get Cubicle 7 to take over D&D? They could. They've
No,
already.
Cubicle 7 did Warhammer for a while.
Yeah, no, I think they still have it. I'm talking about
Yeah.
back in the early aughts. Green Ronin was publishing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Oh, you're right. Second edition was developed by
Chris
Green
Pratt.
Road.
Yeah,
I thought. It was developed by. That's why I don't associate it with Green Ronin, because it was developed by Green Ronin but published by Black Industries.
Okay. All right.
So when you look on the label, it's Black Industry, but behind the scenes, it was Green Ronin.
Right.
And then Fantasy Flight did third edition, which is really a board game.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And then fourth edition is Cubicle 7.
Yes. And I have the Cubicle 7 stuff. I mean, their updates or whatever of the original Warhammer Fantasy campaign is awesome. I got to finish reading it at some point, but I mean, I like the campaign setting more than I actually do the system. Is that a bad thing? Probably.
Mm.
I don't know.
The only Warhammer I ever played is the miniature version.
Oh no, I ran a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay campaign back in the late '80s. It was my first near TPK of any RPG when our party wizard who would wear like a flaming oil like a Mexican bandit like across his chest both ways. He always have his flaming oil ready to go. Uh, Fumbled a fireball spell and it went off ground zero on him. Uh,
Right.
and we had a party of 7. I think only 2 survived because they weren't near the impact. And this was in a town. They were fighting Skaven in a town, but normally you don't like start like blasting off fireballs. But when the party heard, "Oh, you do you?" which was this code word for casting a fireball, only 2 people reacted fast enough to get out of the way. And then it was like, well, and I think we had started Death on the Reich at that point. I was like, well, we can roll new characters and continue, but I don't think we're ever going to have an ending to this campaign that's going to be as epic as blowing yourselves up. And it was right.
I was gonna say people usually say this about the president, but I'd be okay if they gave the D&D license to a monkey, because at least the monkey couldn't make it worse. You know,
right.
like that's the thing. I'd be fine with an option that was just not just destroying it, you know, but getting it out of their hand, because they every time they touch it, they damage it worse and worse and worse. It's ridiculous. They can't. That's like a kid with a candy that they can't stop eating. They just it's gone. You know, like goddamn.
And you can't keep sure they're stupid, because every time you try to track down their stupid thing, they do something else stupid, and then you're onto that, and you forgot about the other stupid thing, and it's sort of like just never ends.
So Mark has a good point here. Hasbro licensed Transformers and G.I. Joe to Renegade Studios. At the time, I didn't understand why WotC didn't get the licenses, didn't do it, but now I do. That's very interesting, right? That's why would you license out your IP to another company when you have a company that does RPGs, is the RPG publisher? I don't know. That's.
I think
Then
it's
again-
kind of like when you don't give a job to your family member because you know that they're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah,
it's that kind of situation.
I guess we got to avoid the nepotism if we want to make money off this. Jimmy D or Jimmy Dean both can show us how the sausage is made. Thank you.
So I have a while ago, you and I talked, Eric, and I have a very important piece of research to show everybody.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Doesn't have anything to do with that 4 inches on your shelf, doesn't it, Rob?
No.
Mike says he has 8 inches of gaming books. Okay.
Okay, so I can share my screen.
All right. Hold on.
Oh.
All right. So I was asked, when was the first instance of numbered hexes?
You figured it out.
Yes, it is Napoleon at Waterloo by SPI, first published in 1971. And this is a photograph of the original game pieces and of the board with 4-digit hex numbers.
Oh, man. Somebody's going to be very upset that they made things up.
Yep. So, and however, I have to admit that Bob Bledsaw Sr. was the first to, and with Bill Owen, because he was the graphics artist when did the campaign hexagon system, were the first to subdivide hexes in a professional product. They may have been doing it before, but they were the first actual published instance of drawing a larger hex as and having a bunch subdivided into a bunch of small hexes. The first war game to do that was Campaign in North Africa by SPI, and that came out in '79.
All right.
Damn, Rob. Ooh, give me a warning next time. You steered that conversation way to the left. I wasn't expecting that. I got a little whiplash from that.
Yeah, there weren't even any perverted references.
Yeah. Well, Bob's going to be Bob. I mean, apparently, he gets bored every once in a while, throws a tantrum, and, you're one of his favorite targets for obvious reasons. So,
I will say the post disappeared, both of them.
Gee, I wonder why. I mean, listen,
Yeah, I
I,
wonder
I
why.
did cover it. I covered it as a news story, and gave credit where credit is due. And what? Oh my gosh, that is a
Oh, I will take that double platinum, Mark.
Got a double platinum nerd card, Rob.
Yep.
Nice.
I have a big bug flying around. Okay.
Yeah, and if you guys buy my How to Make a Fantasy Sandbox, I have a whole chapter.
Don't you have a copy of it? Hold it up.
Okay.
There
Wow.
you go. Hold it up. Well, you see, you lost Eric. He's supposed to embiggen you.
You're
Yeah.
Rob, you're in charge.
I don't know how to operate this thing.
All right.
But yeah, and I have a chapter here, an appendices really, about mapping with hexes. All the different ways you can make.
And that's
can
where
use-
that's the section where you violate everybody's trademarks?
Yep,
Okay.
right
Gotcha.
there. Yep. Hey, Mr. Gunn.
Mr. Gunn.
and including how to subdivide them.
All right.
Right. Show him the chapter about air currents, Rob. That's my favorite.
Just for you, Tim. Just for you. I just
Let's
never
see
going to live
Arrows
that
going
down.
in the same direction. There they are. There's all those arrows going in the same direction.
They're not
Whoa.
going in the same direction. You didn't read the fucking thing, did you?
Not that one. No, why would I fucking read about air currents, Rob?
I don't know, Tim, but if you're going to criticize him, fuck it.
Unless my
fucking
guy
read it.
starts flying kites or something and that becomes pertinent. I don't, the wind blows whichever way I need it to blow.
It's important for the terrain. I explain it in the book, and I only take a paragraph
you
to do
do.
it.
I
All
know.
right, ladies.
And even have
Calm
ocean
down.
currents. So take that, Tim.
What's that?
Even have ocean currents.
I know it's got. Yeah, it's got what? Yeah. And I keep hounding Paul because he's going through your books and he hasn't touched on the air or water current. So it's not a true. It's not true until he does.
It's
so.
not a true review until it
No.
covers
No,
air circulation in the upper atmosphere.
I'm calling him out for not doing that, Rob. So, oh gosh, is that bug still stalking you, Eric? You look
No,
worried.
actually, my cat is now stalking the bug, so I will leave it until her. But if the bug comes back,
There you go.
I don't know. But Sadie's on the hunt. So
Did you ever hit yourself with that, Eric?
what's that?
Did you ever hit yourself with that thing?
No. I've only done that with actual tasers. Okay.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But Guy Beard asked me, do I think point crawls are a viable alternative to hex crawls? Well, I mean, I mean, I don't care for them, but for somebody as a method of organization, I do see it working for people. So I think, people should do more work with point crawls. And in some situations, a piece of an area, when you flesh out an area, it's effectively a point crawl because all the important stuff are distinct locales, and you have really no interest of learning what's in between. You just want to go to these different areas and follow whatever the rumors. So it winds up being a point crawl anyway.
It's just less pretty, huh? On the map.
Yeah, I don't like the aesthetics with the graph stuff. The only time I like that format is for when you're trying to map 3D, when you want to do a true 3D space mapping, trying to do that, put a grid with a bunch of points with Z values, that's for the birds. It's better to do what 2300 AD did and it just show you like a branching point crawl, basically, because it's it accurately depicts the geography that the spacecraft had to travel, and it's a whole lot easier to use during play. But for wilderness travel, no, give me a hex map every time.
Makes sense. You know, the first sandbox I ran was Patterson Big Rubble before RuneQuest, and it lacks hexes. That was a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
It
I don't
doesn't
like it
have
when they don't
hexes?
use scales.
No hexes.
So it was. So it
You know,
wasn't a hex
even my
problem.
harm maps don't. They have a scale, but they don't have hexes.
Oh,
But I like using them in Roll20 because with Roll20 you can set the scale, and I can
right.
just zip the ruler across, and makes it so much easier on the table. In fact, I before my gaming became almost all VTT based, even for my friends who happen to live in town.
Oh, that was a bitter swipe.
That's not. I mean, But Kellyanne got me this, which was it's pretty nice. It's a ruler that you can roll along. See if that
Oh,
focuses in.
all right.
Yeah.
Hold on, Rob.
So you can roll it along the map and read a scale in any direction.
But now, didn't
Wow.
the original Harn map?
Should hypnotize us.
Didn't the Harn box set come with an overlay, like a hex overlay? Oh, some game did.
Oh yeah, for the regional map, it's
Yeah.
hex based. So I have no complaints about that. It's just the the local
Oh, you're going
when they
around.
go into town. This has hexes,
Okay.
big hexes, but hexes nonetheless. But it's when you go. There we go. When you go into.
What are you doing here, Flint? I thought you had to study.
Yeah.
down.
Flint, you
Dungeon
bailed on
crawl.
us, bro.
Now, when you
Yeah.
now you have to use a ruler of some sort to measure the distance.
Mm.
Well, my maps, the ones that I'm working for my Majestic Fantasy Realm, well, you're not going to have that problem. You're going to have 40-foot hexes. This is the latest one I'm working on, Castle Westguard. The buildings are too small, folks, so I have printed out some masters and reworking the buildings at a proper scale.
You're gonna say those hexes look. What the hexes are 40 on that one, Rob?
Yeah, and the building.
Yeah, it looks like a town of doghouses then down there, huh?
Yeah. What happened was I made a mini map for my points of light, and I expanded the scale, and I realized on that mini map I made the buildings too small. This is what the building should be with 40 hexes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I remember the transparent hex and the Forgotten Realms one too. Yeah, I do remember that.
I like that though. I mean, I like being able to put that overlay on the map and get my hexes, but you can still get the nice visual of a hex.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat, but I can see why it was not a. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just said I don't think I ever used it.
I used it on other things. I used it on a few things that I didn't have a few maps I didn't hex. I forgot what they were, but probably something I was repurposing for my Majestic Wildland.
You've probably said majestic more times than any person I've ever had in my life.
It's all about the branding, Greg. Learn it, live it, love it.
I understand. I'm just, woo.
I don't know. You probably said chubby more in
Flag.
here from you than anybody I've heard. So.
Mr. Shadow Funster.
You've heard me say shadow? Is that what you said,
Shadow
Tim?
Funster. I said I think I've heard you say chubby more than anybody.
Oh, that's probably true. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're going to be working chubby, it should be Chubby Shadow.
Well, I was just looking these stats up when you guys were goofing off a second ago. But the Ambition and Avarice version of Terra Invictus was on the market for 2 years before I pulled it private so that I could launch the Shadow Dark version. There wouldn't be any confusion. And the Shadow Dark version has sold 2 times as many units in 1 month as in
I'm
the 2
sure.
years of it being an ambition and
Damn.
average progress. So I'm happy to put Shadow on the front of things.
Yeah.
It's fine. Doesn't bother
We
me.
can put it. Yeah.
And let's be honest, Greg. Some of your like your player's companion, GM companion, Terran Invictus, a lot of your ideas would have worked just as well with ambition, and avarice as they would with Shadow Dark. But with Shadow Dark, you get to share it with more people.
That's right. That's what my argument is. Yeah.
Yeah,
In the shadow of the chubby.
I get in debates on the RPG forums about why should I use OSR? I just should make my own new modern system. But yeah, well, what's your point? You want to be in the business of writing RPG systems, or you want to be in the business of sharing your adventures and settings? What's your priority? If you're into system, then knock yourself with rolling your own. But if you're into if you want to share that neat setting that you were talking about, bite the bullet and learn how to run it with D&D.
Yep.
D&D,
point.
5e.
All D&D. Sorry, classic edition D.
There you go. You can't come on. It's not Kleenex. It's not Kleenex. It's not Xerox. But it is like when you
Right.
talk to the normies, though, it's like, well, yeah, I played D&D. That's how you tell them. You don't go, I play RPGs.
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
I don't introduce it. If I see somebody like I do hobby writing for role playing games, I go, like D&D. Like that's not,
Right.
they don't know what the hell I'm talking about otherwise.
You know.
Yeah, no.
Flint's not taking any questions at this time. Damn it.
He's not taking any questions. Oh.
Please.
I'm listening, and I am painting some figs for tomorrow. All
You're
right.
supposed to eat figs, buddy.
He has a professional gig.
He does.
He does. He's being paid.
He's getting paid.
Sold out.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. That's not what I meant to say.
Would we say that Shadow Dark is the future of the OSR?
I say, okay, go on, Greg.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
No, I say that it's not the future; it's a future. I mean, the whole point of the OSR is we're not this niche. I mean, not to rag on games like Savage World, but let's face it, Savage World, Fate—they're all dominated by their creatively by their parent company, and they had success. But what is the better situation for us as hobbyists and as industry professional? To be in a niche where it's not dominated by anybody. So Shadow Dark is definitely part of the future of the OSR, but OSE is part of that future. My Majestic Fantasy, whatever Greg, if he decides ambition and avarice is part of the future. If Greg decides to do something more with it, it's all part of the future, and that's a good thing in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shadow Dark is going to be one of those pillars or banners that people will rally around, as will OSE, as will Dragon Slayer, as will not Labyrinth Lord. Just you can wipe that one away at this point. It's rotten on the vine, but there are games that people are going to gravitate to, and they're going to, just like DCC. DCC has learned how to gather a community and a strong core community, even if it's 1/10th or 1/20th or 100th the size of WotC's 5e, can keep a company profitable and paying creatives and keeping their community happy for a long time. So I don't think that Shadow Dark by itself is the future, but I think that the future is going to be certainly fragmented compared to what it is now.
Yeah, I've actually seen DCC
than it is now.
Yeah, I would disagree with like Rob. I think this is a consolidating period. We're looking at a lot of people for a long time, going back to when we started on Google Plus days and stuff. It was very fragmented, And I think the thing that Shadow Dark has really brought out is that people are looking for a game that they can have a lot of commonality with other people with, and it's consolidating in. I think we're probably going to see some consolidating in around maybe 4 or 5 systems, and because it's better for network effects, you know.
Yeah, when I said
Reality.
fragmenting, I didn't mean I think it's going to fragment even further, but there's going to be tiers. There's going to be some systems
Oh,
more
yeah.
popular
Well, I
than
was
others.
talking about banners. It's definitely banners.
Yes,
You know,
so the banners are going to continue, and the banners will continue to strengthen, especially the ones who do it right. The DCC RPG started out strong because what did they do? They went over. It's obviously a 3 point X derived system when you first encounter it, which is its own unique take. But it wasn't. It didn't come out of Goodman Games wanting to recreate an older RPG. He did older themes, but he went around to OSR referees like me and others and say, "Hey, I'm doing this. It has these mechanics, but it has all this cool stuff that we're doing it like they talked about in the old pulp novel. Could you run it for it and give us your feedback?" I said, "Sure," and we gave you feedback, like killing the guy with the door on the very first encounter, and so that was a very wise move on Goodman Games' part. And then after they released it, they continued building the community. And Kelsey has followed. She didn't do the run up because she kind of developed Shadow Dark and then released that preview and then built the hype
Mhm.
around the Kickstarter. But then she kept the community going. She was very open to third party
that's
within
the
limit.
secret. That's the secret going forward, right? Is having that
Mhm.
community.
Yep.
You build that community, you're building your base. And it's huge. James, DCC built a cult level of brand loyalty. Only other indie
Sure
game like
did.
that is Shadow Dark. Both will be around for a long, long time because of that. Yeah.
And the thing I've seen lately with DCC is now they're in the Barnes and Nobles. Like I'd never saw it in our Barnes and Nobles, and now they almost have a half a shelf dedicated to DCC of all different types of books.
Yep.
Well, and if you
Do you
go
actually
to,
still go to bookstores?
I go to
Interesting.
bookstores every week if I can.
Wow.
I know. I love my
if
We
bookstores.
live in
See,
different
Greg, this is
universes.
what real old school looks like.
Oh,
yeah, bookstores. What is that? Urban
okay.
environment. They're gone. But here's the thing with DCC too. Um, and yeah, I think you can only get it at this price at conventions. If you go to a convention and there is a vendor who's uh, vending some stuff for Goodman, whether it's Goodman or whether it's another third party publisher, I didn't see them at TotalCon this year, but last year at TotalCon, I snagged the DCC latest print or rule book and soft cover for $10.
Wow.
That is a buy-in that you're not going to find elsewhere, and that's huge in keeping that community constantly growing. For $10, you look at that book, and I already have like 4 different printings. I was like, but for $10, yeah, I'll get the latest.
I think one of the biggest things they did that really helped them out with their mission was as they like indoctrinated these DMs to go on, to go do these contours. And when you went in one of those games, you could tell the DMs were just excited to play it. They're excited about the game. They got the excitement built around the convention. They had a lot of swag to give away and whatnot. So it really kind of helped, because that's the only place I think I really played it on a regular basis with the cons.
Yep.
And every time I had a different DM, but they had that same very enthusiastic energy about them and about the game. So I think that's been a huge help for them also.
Yeah.
I mean,
James said, I don't know how Kelsey does it. She stays absolutely dialed into her community,
She
DCT
does.
and SD via DCC as an auto buy. Yeah, it's a talent. I I ran that LARP chapter for a while and had some success, but there were weaknesses on my part on keeping it going, and and it takes a talent that a skill, and you have to nurture it. And I wish I could describe it, but I mean, my approach, the part I'm successful is when I adopt a service mentality. I I know what I'm trying to do. I know what needs to be accomplishment, and I try to help people achieve that same goal within the group. In the group, in this case, are the people running your system. In this, her case, Shadow Dark. In my case, maybe the Majestic Fantasy RPG. But the part I'm weak on is what I call being a cheerleader, the enthusiasm, rah rah stuff. And there's a certain talent you have to do that, and I don't always have that. And I know what it takes to do that though, and I just admire the people who are able to pull that off, keep their integrity going, do what's right by their customers. And Kelsey, Joseph Goodman, in many extents, are able to do that for their customer base.
Yeah, no, it's pretty darn spot on. You
Mhm.
know, and that is the future. Okay, I mean that is whichever direction gaming is going to go, and 5e will certainly go off in its own direction. It's those that can build a community and uh, respect that community when they build it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
that's the double thing. Like you look, what is Labyrinth Lord? What is LL Labyrinth Lord? People forget it real quickly. Labyrinth
Right.
Lord used to have a really huge following. There were a lot of games built off Labyrinth Lord from Goblinoid Games, and people were playing Mutant Future, um, Apes Victorious, and then it started to go stale, and there was nobody preaching it. There was nobody anymore. It used to be the go-to OSR game if you were going to publish. If you were in doubt, you
Yep.
published for Labyrinth Lord.
Yeah,
and
remember that.
and then OSE out Labyrinth Lord by leaps and bounds, and it is laid foul. There's a second edition that there hasn't been anything about it in about a year, and I don't think it's going to happen. Personally, I have no inside information. I'm blocked by Dan on social media, so I couldn't ask him if I wanted to. 'Cause I know
You
there are
get
people
blocked a
go,
lot.
yeah, I do. But Dan blocked me and Mike the moment that we've said anything bad about Labyrinth Lord and raised OSE.
Well, I
So
can tell you when I spotted the warning signs for Labyrinth Lord is when the Goblinoid Games website forums and stuff started having trouble. It was obviously not being maintained,
right,
and there was not engagement, and that that was that. I mean, I had some great success with Black Marsh. I mean, I could have, if I would have cheerleaded more, try to build a site around people contributing, it may have been, generate buzz. But the thing is, I got things going on my regular life. I know how much time I have to devote to it. So I have to go at the slow and steady approach. Plus, you got to recognize your own weakness in all this. And my weakness is I write slow.
right,
I have some reasons for that. My deafness, believe it or not, I have language difficulties as a result of my deafness. So it takes me a little bit longer to put together a coherent work. And if anybody who ever read any of my foreign posts knows that if I start typing off the cuff, sometimes it can be a bit gibberish. And so, one reason to keep one way to keep the enthusiasm go is to have a regular release cycle, which is Greg is doing. He's good at that, and it still has to be good though. But good and regular release is one of the key elements. Oh, and Greg or James mentioned something earlier about how the people involved in the DCC RPG and how Kelsey and her team seemed like real gamers. Well, that is absolutely critical. No matter what approach you take, is you got to come off across authentic. you got to show that you're eating your own dog food, so to speak. You got to show that you're putting in the time, playing your stuff, because authenticity is one of the pillars to success.
Yep.
To If you want to see your stuff being used widely.
And James, good point with the part of the issue with Labyrinth Lord is that Dan attacked his own fans.
Yeah.
He attacked his own community, and that's really that's a no-no.
Yeah, I
Lord
mean,
Mattis, huge question. Everyone talks about creators of a specific thing. What thoughts do you guys have about writers who have interest in multiple systems and IPs? Are your observations the same? Hey, you write for what calls to you.
mhm.
I don't.
Well,
It doesn't. I know a lot of people that write for multiple systems. It's whatever's calling to them at that time.
yeah.
It's great. That's
Yeah, because gosh,
Yeah,
I've written adventures for Swords and Wizardry, complete your version, Eric, Swords and
yep.
Wizardry.
You're
He's
right.
on my groove for a while. Then OSE for a while, and Shadow Dark now. I think I even wrote up a few for GURPS and a few for Fantasy Age, and so whatever's kind of jiving with whatever adventure things I'm in right now. Yeah, I love writing for those uh, kind of systems like that.
yeah. I drag my majestic water. Tim knows that I've dragged my majestic waterlands from AD&D to Fantasy Hero to GURPS to Fantasy Age. Right through a whole bunch of systems, tweaking things here, running it raw
Oh,
here there. But
Well, there's something about having a network effect, and if you're writing one thing for a bunch of different pots, so to speak, you're not gonna have a lot of strength in any of those pots,
right.
buckets, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you want to have a reputation that people care about, you need to at
Funnel
least have
down.
like a core thing, and maybe that you can diversify and have some things that are outside of that core to try to draw people into other areas. But I mean, you need to have. It's very important to have a reputation somewhere.
So says the Shadow Lord.
Yeah. I did not come up with that title.
the Shadow Lord. The
I
Shadow
was
knows it.
surprised when Joe did it, and I almost stopped him and said, "Don't do that." But
Oh, he
hey,
probably was just so pleased with himself. Yeah.
it's, playing with fire. I don't want to do that.
Right.
so
You already were the
TXT,
Pope of the OSR, so I mean, you already had that title.
so
You shouldn't be
TXT asked,
shocked.
TXT asked that I don't know how you guys do it writing for multiple systems. I can barely keep one straight in my head, and even then I tend to screw it up. Well, for me, the trick is to remember I know what I'm going to write about. It's going to be my majestic fantasy realm. It's going to be my majestic waterland. It's not tied to a system. What I look for in the system that I'm going to write for is how to translate Viz, how I look to translate Paladins of Delaquain, how I look like to translate Meridians of Sarath. How did that get expressed in the new system? And then at first, when I run a new system, I'm going to be rusty in it. I'm going to get things wrong. I'm going to be looking through that rule book. Tim's going to be yelling at me, "Make it up, Rob! Make it up, Rob!" And and but so I have to spend a bit of time before I master a system. But to use a system, it's just to think of my setting first, what I'm going to write about first, and then see how. Because ultimately, all RPGs are about people role playing people. And all you have to figure out is how did they describe people. And once you figure out how to describe people, then you can start translating what you do with people into their terms. Hope that helps.
And then when I was writing for the different systems, I didn't do all those systems at once. I was just usually I was into Swords and Wizardry Light, so I wrote for Swords and Wizardry Light. And then when I switched to OSE, I wrote for OSE. And then if something like maybe an adventure I wrote for Swords and Wizardry Light would maybe be an easy transfer to a different system, then I might rework it and everything. But writing for like, yeah, 2 or 3 systems at the same time. Oh God, no, I don't have that brain capacity either. I couldn't do it. I would get them all confused up because like a lot of those systems that we write for, they're just similar enough to screw you up. It's like just when you think you have it, there'll be a subtle difference in the rule that you forget.
And there's one more trick is that I just don't pick any system to try. I mean, the one reason I do a lot of work with D&D 5e, because if you don't use feats or you restrict feats, because I do allow human characters to take 1 feat, and if you don't use multi-classing, then the lack of a better word, the power curve is very similar to Swords and Wizardry Core that I use. Of course, it's more hit points, more ways to attack, but basically a fighter is at a certain level is going to be able to take on the same amount of orcs, whether I'm using 5e under those conditions or Swords and Wizardry Core. So that
I
way,
found that when I put my Ferrari in only first gear, it goes the same speed as my tractor.
wonderful insight. I think I will continue. So
you're saying
so
you just
that
said
way
like if
I
I
can just take
hamstring
what I
the
do.
fuck out of this system, it's the same as his other. Like, yeah, of course you just made all these. You're now Joe the lawyer with your house rules, Rob.
Oh, God bless.
Well,
Man, that was a deep cut, Greg.
I'm sorry to
Ooh,
stab you in the face.
damn.
But Jesus,
Ooh.
man.
you would be
Jeez.
right there, Greg,
His
except for
name's
one
Greg.
thing. Feats are optional rules in the 2014 D&D 5e. Multi-classing is optional rule. So I am running 5e as intended, not what everybody who wants to get their dopamine hit.
If you can
wants
sleep
to
at
run
night
it.
with that explanation, I'm fine with it too.
Hey, it's in the rule book, man. I can pull it out. It's
Please
up to
don't.
you.
No, but all right. So here, you're saying this is how it was intended. How do 98% of the games run though? I
I
mean,
can't help how everybody chooses to run. If everybody
well,
chooses,
see, like when you now, my question then becomes: when you're writing an adventure for 5e, do you write it as you think it should have been written? The game should be run, or do you run it for the audience of the 95% that run it a certain way?
well, that depends on how authentic you want to be. If you want to write it for the bucks, of course you write it with feats and multi-content in mind.
I'm just
But if you're writing to be true to yourself and willing to take the hit on the sales, then you write it how you want to write it.
fair enough. I was just curious. But by the way, folks, this is why you come to these live streams, right? Because this is it. And I'm just gonna mention this once. If you want to be a member, and you can actually sponsor these live streams. There are levels for that. Check out the membership. It's not that bad. And then you could say your name could be on the bottom of the screen during one of these lives when Rob and Greg go back and forth, and you can go, "I made that happen." No, you didn't, but you could say it.
And to answer TXG question, yeah, I would run an adventure in a system before I commit to running it. But I got to be honest, sometimes things aren't exposed until you run a campaign. Like what me and Tim found out about Fantasy Age. God, their hit points are too high for what they're trying to do, and it just when you get higher level, combat just drags out forever. I don't know if you remember that, Tim, but
oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember that.
now to be in Fantasy Age's favor, when they came out with Modern Age and they started fleshing out the system more, they put in options to combat that. So they kind of fixed it, but if you play it like the rule book, yeah, it's combat takes way too long.
Zatrin, everybody on screen that is a creative is doing this as a hobby and additional income. although Greg might be the most successful at that.
Oh, by
Um,
far, yeah.
by far. But James Spahn, he creates full time. This is his
James
full time.
Spawn, yeah.
The Spawn. So,
The Spawn,
but those
yes.
that listen, like I get to do what I do with this YouTube channel because I'm retired. All right, this New York City was nice enough to give me a pension. It allows me to do this, and if I was doing it for the money, I wouldn't be doing it. It doesn't pay that well.
Yeah.
But yes, this is James's only job.
Yeah, James is my nemesis. He was the guy that would always keep me out of the #1 spot on RPG Now back in the day, because his
Oh,
little white box supplements would just stay up there for like 2 years, and I could never. It was like the Beatles albums back in the '60s. The only way you could beat a Beatles album is when the new Beatles album came out. So that's the way James was back in there. I used to
who were
share
these
that little.
Beatles guys?
I know, you freaking millennial. Yeah, every time you do that, I used to put up that little picture of Kirk saying Khan, but I changed it to Spawn because he'd always beat me out. So it was fun competition back then. Nowadays, it's hard to crack into that the drive through RPG
Yeah.
stuff there.
so that trend.
Yeah, like I said,
Let's
now
remember-
look at him showing up. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, I know, James. I know.
Veteran, just remember that today you have more options to bootstrap yourself to the level that you want to be at. Because back in the day, we had the internet, PDFs were just starting to come in, but we didn't have Kickstarter. But now we have Kickstarter, and now we have YouTube video that anybody with a little bit of computer skill can make a YouTube video. And desktop publishing costs, with programs like Affinity. Is that the one, Tim?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the one
yeah.
that's kind of the affordable version of.
Yeah, and if you
Adobe,
want to go
yeah.
to the professional, like with Adobe, and if you have the
Yeah.
income to support it, it's $62 a month, but it's only $62 a month. So, you can get the top-notch stuff. So you can work your way up, and you can do this in the time that you have for a hobby until you're ready to do more.
Now, here's a little question since we got on Kickstarter. I'm kind of curious to see what the result is going to be with, because of all the stuff happening. Is there going to be a decline in Kickstarters? Like, I'd like to, once this is kind of passed through, wonder what the decline is, how hard that's going to hit Kickstarter, and maybe what's the other one? Indiegogo? I always forget that.
Oh no,
Backer Kit.
No, it's
Backer Kit. Backer Kit. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for anybody who's dabbling in physical media.
Yeah, but but it's funny because people worried about the new Shadow Dark one, and I'm like, I don't know. I was thinking she's probably already somehow got that covered, and sure enough, she came out and said she did. I don't underestimate her for. I don't know. It just seems she got bases covered.
And just realize there are other printing sources other than China. I mean, I know Douglas Cole, got some stuff printed in Lithuania, so not like you're totally out of luck if China's not in.
Didn't Wizard Games too just recently find? I'm sorry, I can't remember. They just found it. Don, yeah, Don found a new printer also. Yeah,
well, Don actually he found a new supplier for paper because Don has his
supplier for paper.
He has his own printing facilities, but he needed to get paper, so he had to.
That's right. That's good.
So that people are pivoting.
Right, the people that are going to be hurt the most are the people who are in between. If they're already committed to the cost, they already got their stuff made. It's coming in now. They have to come up with
now they have to come up with that money right now.
Right, or
I didn't know that you had to pay it in like a very short time frame, or they destroy your product.
Yep. Right.
I didn't know that either.
They don't store it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the tariffs aren't going on to straight books. It's just
straight
they
books seem to be have a 7% tariff, but if the moment you
Okay.
put dice or the moment
Right.
you box it,
Something else.
yeah,
Yeah.
then
Okay.
Then it's a game.
books have an exception. But
I got you. Yeah. I did hear that, I guess.
yeah, I think Roll for Combat covered that
Gotcha.
on his channel.
Yeah, he had a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how, when I get ready to do my Kickstarter, how that's going to fare with everything going on.
You know, it is possible. People, I've seen a few people do it of just having drive-through fulfill it,
Yeah,
and you know that may not be your preferred option in a lot
Right.
of ways, but at least it would be a way of doing it without having all that extra cost.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to use drive-through for both the poster maps and the books. So,
You do that already, huh, Rob?
Yeah.
To fulfill all your stuff anyhow. So
right.
yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, without sinking a huge bunch of capital into it. I can't see any other way with poster. I mean, I could raise the capital with Kickstarter, but I just don't have. I'm just a one-man outfit. I can't box or ship out that many posters. If it goes above 200, I would be dead in the water.
TXG. I've been hearing people say they get about 10 days, but
Wow,
yeah.
that's it, huh? Jeez.
Yeah. And again, and then your stuff gets destroyed. So if you didn't budget for it ahead of time, you could certainly be in a tough spot.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I get the pain of that. The pain, that's pain. A lot of times, you know, politicians make decisions that you might even agree with, but that cause short-term pain in a lot
Right.
of people. But just because you have to implement laws somehow, you know, somebody's going to be the one who's the last person before they have to pay a thing or whatever. That's always going to happen. But yeah, so the short-term pain is pretty brutal.
Yeah. No, again, I know a lot of people affected by it. I understand the emotions that are involved in this. I have empathy. I'll even go as far as say I have sympathy because it sucks. You know, nobody wants to be put in that situation. And I'm not involved in the publishing industry. I'm the guy who can step back and go, it doesn't affect me, but I know people that it affects. So yes, it does have an
Right.
effect. You know.
Well, and the pain is not going to be short term. I work in manufacturing. My day job involves writing motion control software for metal cutting machines, and I know how long it takes us to expand. And if anybody thinks this is going to be a short term deal, it's not. You just can't
Well,
spin up manufacturing that fast.
and Rob, I didn't mean it like that. I'm saying like everything in the short. Yeah, if 5 years is the short run, if you're looking at some big long calculation, you know, if you make a huge shift, you're just going to have a short-term pain. The size of that pain is going to be proportional to the shift. You know, that's all it is. 5-year rise, and I'm willing to pay a 10-year flat line. It's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, and that
Mhm.
you know, I think caution and but that's been my strategy the whole time is not to make big risky decisions, but to just go for incremental success. You know, close out this, take a low risk. Don't run. You know, don't put everything on the weight of marketing. Just kind of build up slowly what you can build.
Well, that's prudent even good times because you never know what you go into this thing not knowing what you don't know until you experience it, and then you know just I can remember all the early days of the OSR and people trying out box sets, and very few were able to make it work because it turned out a little bit more complicated than you thought going in making a decent box set.
Oh yeah. And the costs involved in it were
Right.
So Mr. Gunn asked about international trade zones. So those are really for a situation. The trade zone there is for you bringing stuff over from say China or Taiwan, and you land it in the United States, but you shipping it elsewhere you're shipping a part of that elsewhere. That's what those are for. Those are for when you're like a U.S. company, you want your shipment all in one go, but then you want to ship, say, like a fifth of your order to Mexico, a third of the rest of your order to Canada, and the rest you bring in. Well, you don't want to pay U.S. tariff, even back when it was low, on bringing everything. You don't just want to pay your tariff once. So there are free zones, international trade zones, where you're allowed to bring in stuff, break it up, and ship it elsewhere without paying the U.S. tariff. That's what those are for. They don't help you once you get into the market itself. Once you get into the market, you got to pay the tariff the country's asking for.
I would be very surprised, TXG, if WotC was not printing their books in China.
Oh, they,
Oh,
print
they
them in China,
definitely
but
are.
they've already got their book. They're sitting on a.
Yeah.
They're
I was
sitting
going
on
to
a
say probably have
war.
a huge surplus. Yeah, I'm imagining
So
they
they're
are. Yeah.
somebody at WotC right now is going. You thought I was a fool to order so many books, and they're not sold yet. Look what it would cost you if we
Right.
hadn't ordered all this.
Yep.
You know.
So
Maybe
some
that
broken
was
clock
Kurt
was
Gould,
correct. Yeah.
Right.
Kurt Gould's last official order. I ordered all those 5.5 books. I thought they were going to be sitting on them for years, and instead it was the best move I did for them. Son of a bitch.
Right.
Yeah, we know they're going to be going to AI because Chris Cox talks about AI all the time. Whenever there's an interview with Chris Cox, he just goes, AI. I use AI in my home game. We use AI in this. We use AI in designing board games now. Am I talking too much about AI?
Then he starts glitching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we all know. I mean, Matt Finch's, has wonderful random tables in his books, and there's, Matt Jackson talks about all these solo RPGs, and some of them are really well done and have a lot of inspirational stuff, but they are bound by what they know. And AI for your for the depth of its knowledge, AI is still a giant choose your own adventure setup. It's a giant random table, and you will run into its limits.
Yep, and that's why you should all look forward to my upcoming product, Marsh Black, which is a large
God
hex
damn it,
crawl.
Greg! Just fucking say it. Don't tease us. Just say it. You want to say it.
Oh man, I'm laughing so hard I'm gonna have to take a cough drop because my throat hurts. Oh my god.
Well, if this is the way you fucking say it, then I'm gonna shoot you down like this every time.
Marsh Black is the best supplement you can get, folks.
Marsh Black?
Marsh Black.
Yeah.
It's trained on quality
Oh,
raw
he did the
inputs.
visual graphics. Okay, you got to say it visually though.
Yeah. I thought you saw that. Yeah. So
He's not blind. He's only
look forward, Rob. Rob AI is looking forward to Marsh Black, an extensive hex scrawl with completely unique AI created encounters, definitely not trained on Black Marsh.
Well, at least not
totally unique, folks. Totally unique.
Not trained on Gil, because then Bob might get all bent. Just throwing it out there as a.
Yeah, one of the speaking of AI, one of the most I don't know, stupidest things I've heard this weekend. God, I hear a lot of stupid things in my job, and this tops it all. Is we were doing this training, and they're going to roll out a system where now if you call not locally here but somewhere in our state, they're going to try out this system that's an AI system that's going to triage your mental health. So if you call into 911, it is going to be it is going to be answered by an AI person, and now it will triage.
Now, see, this was already anticipated by the Last Action Hero movie, where they pull up to the LAPD and they say, if you are being attacked, please hold and press 1. If you are doing that, you remember like it was like a fast food intercom system for you to
Right.
interact with the LAPD. Oh, that's a great movie.
And it was the dumbest
So-
fucking thing I've heard. And the guy that was training it, or doing the training, and you guys know me, and I am not. If I think something's fucked up, I will say it to the person. I
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that. So we're in this. What is it? What do you call it? Group, work group, or something like that. And he's talking about it with there's such enthusiasm, and I said, could you just stop for 1 second? I said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said, who, how much money is going into this? And he wouldn't say. So, because if you really want to get down to the thing,
Right.
let's see, how much money is this going to be? Kind of thing. And would not say anything about it. When I'm like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. It's like,
He's getting.
but yeah,
he's
they're getting
paid to be
stupid.
enthusiastic.
Yes, he's a enthusiastic cheerleader. It's like, you
So-
freaking idiot.
I use for the last 6 months. I've been using AI with my coding stuff, but I never use it to write code, because what happens when you use it to write code and try to run it, because when you compile in computer programming, compiling your code is a pass fail. There's no arguing with it. It sort of works. If it doesn't compile, that's a fail. So, when you write code with AI and you try to just paste it in, it will fail. Okay, I have not yet seen it run anything sophisticated that just doesn't fail. But as an assistant to me to cover areas that I am not particularly up on, it's a big help, because I look at it and I'm an experienced programmer, and I can know when it's like, okay, that's bullshit. I forgot about that. Okay, that's good. So when AI used as an assistant is a wonderful tool, but to do what Tim is talking about is total lunacy. It is dangerous. It is unsafe.
It's
not
a tool,
repeatable.
Rob. It's just a tool like you're talking. It's a tool to get them to the right place at the right
No,
time.
but they're not. They're subbing it in for a human. If a human would,
But that doesn't matter, Rob. It's okay, because
It's
then they can
okay,
get them
Rob.
to the right
The AI
humans.
will make the right choice.
That's
But
bullshit.
Nine
the
times
frightening
out of
thing.
10.
The frightening thing about it is how many mental health professionals that were on that same channel thought it was also a good idea. And I'm just like,
God damn.
okay, all right, whatever. Okay. And like, what did Tia, until someone died? Yeah, I want to know who's going to be paying the lawsuits out.
That's
I
right.
know. I agree.
There was that
Now,
story
if it was a
recently
case
where
of
the
a
guy
human-
had gotten instructions on how to clean his washing machine from ChatGPT, and it advised him to mix a number of chemicals together that would have created chlorine gas if he had done that.
Right.
Luckily, he didn't do it, but in a morbid way, I would have liked.
He didn't want to
if he-
vaporize his lungs.
I wanted him
Jeez.
to do it, so then it would be a lawsuit to go up against and figure out who's freaking liable for this shit if it says something that's wrong.
Yeah. So, it's got to always, the humans got to remain in the loop. If you see anybody suggest the use of AI without a human in the loop, that person should be fired. That's my opinion. Especially if it's something like mental health, or in my case, motion control, where there's machinery operating that could hurt people. No, you do not, unless the human's in the loop. AI should not be involved. Now, a benefit of where AI helped me recently was I was helping a customer configured an import into one of our machines from a competitor's software, and it wasn't working out. And I don't know my competitor's software, so I powered up and I fired it up, and I asked him, "How do you do this using so and so software?" And it gave me the answer, and we tried it out, and it worked and solved our problem. But it's not a substitute for me being on that phone with the customer.
Right.
Wow. Well,
Yep.
we may have the natural conclusion of this live stream.
Yeah, I think so.
Rob. We had Rob and Robbie I going at it. I don't think we're going to win. Very active community today. The chat has been spot on, awesome.
Yeah.
Chubby, I'm afraid to ask what that is.
It's the Hindenburg.
Oh,
Because I was just thinking about how blimps, dirigibles are
Zeppelin,
so
God damn it, Zeppelins.
Zeppelins,
Sorry, I was a
whatever,
huge
whatever.
Zeppelin geek
I'm
when I
not
was
a
little.
gnome. I don't know these things. All right, so
You just freaking insulted me.
Why are you a gnome, Rob?
Are you a gnome? What? No,
Why
that
did you even
was
take that personal?
that was a Matt Jackson joke.
I was going to say that was
Anyway,
more.
yeah. So everyone knows that Zeppelins are totally safe as long as you follow the prescribed directions and there's a human involved making good decisions. What
And you
could go
fly,
wrong?
you bother
What
checking
could
the
go
weather
wrong,
report.
guys? It's going to be totally fine.
Okay.
I, for one, welcome our new AI overlords.
God bless. Go with God. Folks, next live stream is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Gamers Health, me and my wife Rach. And next week, there will be an afternoon yet to be decided. Glenn Halstrom and I will have Glenn Seal, Monkey Blood, as a guest.
Good.
We're going to have him as a
fantastic.
daytime. Because, he's over on the other side of the pond. We got to get him at a normal time for him.
Right.
So we're going to get. We harassed Glenn today on the live stream. So he's agreed. We just got to find a day that works for everybody. So when I have that one, I'll make sure I share it everywhere. All right,
I'll be glad to see Glenn. Cool.
Yes. All right, folks. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. Thank you to all my co-hosts for tonight. And this would normally be in 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks I'm going to be at WizardCon. So you're not going to see us as this group.
I'll be there as well.
Probably for another. Rob will be there, so maybe Rob and I will do something.
I'll be getting up to naughty shit.
I don't want to know. All right.